This week you tweeted and said that a reliable power grid is infrastructure. What do you mean by that?
We want to make sure that people understand that infrastructure evolves with American progress and American aspirations. So that would mean that the electricity grid is infrastructure now. Broadband, which wouldn't have been considered infrastructure maybe even in the 1990s, is infrastructure now.
And talking about reliable grids, everyone in Texas knows what happened when we experienced our winter storm. The power system buckled. A lot of people were without power. What is your take just on Texas's independent power grid? And then also, lawmakers are now scrambling to put some measures in place to try to prevent this from happening again.
10 years ago when this, when the similar thing happened and it was warned to be able to winterize the grid and the power systems that supply electricity into people's homes, and that these unusual weather events are going to continue to happen. So hopefully that happens. Hopefully that there is that investment in Texas's grid so that it doesn't happen again. And I would say too, and I totally understand Texas's ethos to be independent, but there must be a way that the rest of the country can help when Texas is hurting.
The winter storm, less than 15% of the power failure was due to wind. But the political narrative, some lawmakers criticized renewable energy as the reason why the power sources failed. How do you sell that to a state like Texas?
Well, I think Texas, because it does have some amazing renewable resources that it can also make money for people with, it doesn't have to be a zero sum. It's a both and. You can do things that would remove carbon, CO2 emissions from fossil fuels and still allow those fossil fuels to supply power to people. So we have technology called, for example, carbon capture, use, and sequestration. That's technology that you would attach to power plants to remove carbon from it so that those kinds of fuels can still be used.
This week, in a rare form of bipartisanship, Republican Senator John Cornyn and Democratic Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson held a press conference, and basically they're proposing federal legislation that will help states like Texas, which they represent, in providing some type of winterization funding from a federal level. What do you think the federal government's role should be in helping power grids from other states prepare for weather events?
Texas's system isn't even under the federal government at the moment, but perhaps it's the opening for a conversation about some way to be able to have that partnership. We certainly don't want Texans to be, finding themselves in the same situation again. We certainly want the utility and the power suppliers to weatherize and take responsibility for not having done so in the past as well, but to weatherize the grid and not penalize the citizens of Texas. So perhaps it's the opening for a bipartisan conversation about it.
Secretary Granholm, thank you so much, and thanks for taking some time to talk to us today.
You bet. Thanks.